高弘は静かで礼儀正しく、人付き合いが苦手だった。いつも挨拶にはうなずいてくれる。何の変哲もない、絶対に疑わないような隣人だった。
They say modern evil hides in the dark web, in the black corners of the internet where human desperation is currency. But the truth is far more confronting. In the hyper-connected, polite, and advanced nation of Japan, a new kind of monster was operating in plain sight, using a platform meant for connection to find those who wanted to disappear. He wasn't hiding in the shadows, he was in your feed, using the same 5 accounts you check every day. His weapon was a direct message, and his hunting ground was the collective cry for help. This is the story of Takahiro Shiraishi, the serial predator who earned the chilling title, the Twitter Killer. But here's the real question. Was his death sentence justice, or did Japan give him exactly what he wanted? Tokyo, 2017. The city never really sleeps. Neon lights flash against crowded streets, vending machines hum on every corner, and thousands of people sit in tiny apartments scrolling through their phones. Among them, 9 individuals, most of them young women, isolated, vulnerable, some struggling with suicidal thoughts. And in the endless flood of tweets, one particular account caught their attention. A man who said he understood. A man who said he could help. A man who whispered the same thoughts they already carried deep inside. What they didn't know was that they were walking straight into a trap. At first glance, Takahiro Shiraishi seemed ordinary. Too ordinary. To classmates, he was quiet, forgettable. To neighbors, polite. Even as an adult, he blended into crowds. The kind of man you'd pass on the street without a second look. But ordinary masks can hide the darkest intentions. In his teenage years, there were subtle glimpses, disturbing games with friends, a fascination with control. Nothing that screamed danger, just strange, unsettling moments that would only make sense later. By the time he entered adulthood, Shiraishi was drifting. No clear path, no ambition, until he found himself in Tokyo's red light district. Not as a customer, but as a scout. His job? To find vulnerable women and lure them into nightlife work. He learned quickly how to read people, how to spot loneliness, how to push the right buttons with just a few carefully chosen words. It was training in manipulation, training in exploitation, skills he would later use for something far more sinister. By the summer of 2017, Takahiro began creating Twitter accounts. The usernames felt bleak, melancholy. The bios read things like, "I want to die. Let's disappear together. I can help those who can't do it alone." For someone lost in despair, scrolling through Twitter at 2 a.m., these accounts could feel like lifelines. Someone who understood, someone who wouldn't judge. But what looked like empathy was actually bait, and it worked. Between August and October, 9 people vanished after meeting with Takahiro. Friends panicked, families searched, social media went silent. And yet, the police had almost nothing to go on. Until one brother decided to dig deeper. His sister had gone missing. He opened her Twitter account, scrolling through her last messages. And there, hidden in plain sight, was a username. One that hinted at death. One that connected her to a man she had agreed to meet. The brother took it to police. A friend of the victim agreed to message Takahiro, setting up a meeting. And when he arrived, investigators tailed him back to his small apartment in Zama, just outside Tokyo. What they found inside would horrify the nation. The knock on his door seemed routine.
Where were you on the night of the
A few questions about a missing woman. Takahiro didn't panic. In fact, he didn't even try to deny it. Calmly, he told officers to check the cooler in his apartment. What they discovered confirmed their worst fears.
What is this?
The missing weren't missing anymore. They were gone. 9 lives, all connected by Twitter, all ending inside one ordinary-looking apartment. The media erupted. Japan, a country where violent crime is almost unthinkably rare, now had its most chilling serial killer case in years. And the world was left asking, how could something like this happen here? Takahiro's trial dragged on for years. Psychiatrists studied him, searching for signs of mental illness. The results shocked even the experts. He was sane, entirely aware of his actions, entirely aware of the lies he told. His defense team tried to argue consent, that his victims wanted to die, and that he was simply assisting. But Takahiro himself cut through the lie.
I had no interest in helping.
He admitted he had no interest in helping. The talk of suicide was nothing more than a lure. In 2020, the verdict came down: death by hanging. For some families, the sentence was a relief, but for others, it felt hollow. One father said he wished Takahiro had been given life in prison. I wanted him to atone every day, without escape. Execution just gives him what he wanted. Another father's words were devastating. Even now, when I see a young woman the same age as my daughter, I mistake her for her. This pain will never leave me. Give her back to me. No punishment could do that. No verdict could erase the absence. And that's where the debate began. Because in Japan, execution isn't quick, it isn't public. Inmates sit for years, never told when the day will come. Every morning could be the last. For some, that's punishment enough. For others, it's meaningless. Especially in Takahiro's case, he told the court he welcomed death, that he accepted it, which forces a question that lingers like a shadow. If execution is what he wanted, is it really justice to give it to him? That question grows even darker when you look at Japan's long battle with suicide itself. For decades, Japan has faced one of the highest suicide rates in the developed world. In 2016, it was 18.5 per 100,000 people, staggering compared to other nations. The reasons are complex: stigma around mental health, crushing work culture, social isolation, academic pressure. For years, the government fought to bring numbers down. Counseling campaigns, support lines, workplace reforms. By 2019, the suicide rate was falling. But then came 2020. COVID-19 swept the world. And while the virus claimed lives, something else rose higher. In October of that year alone, 2,153 people in Japan died by suicide. That was more than the total number of people who had died from COVID in the entire country that same year. So here's the haunting paradox. How effective is the death penalty in a society where thousands already take their own lives every year? Is execution really justice? Or just another form of suicide with the government's approval? And Takahiro himself? Even after conviction, he revealed something that infuriated the public. He said, "Now I want to meet an ordinary girl. I want to get married. I want to find a partner while I'm in prison." For a man who had destroyed 9 lives, the audacity was staggering. But it revealed the deeper contradiction of punishment. If death ends the story, maybe prison forces him to live with it. Maybe life itself is the harsher sentence. Which raises the question, did Japan, in executing him, hand him the ending he desired? The Twitter killer case wasn't just about one man. It was about a society caught between two crises: a predator who exploited loneliness, and a nation already drowning in despair. It forced Japan to confront the dangers of social media, the fragility of mental health, the limits of punishment, and the uncomfortable truth that justice may not be about killing the guilty, but about protecting the living. 9 families will never be whole again. 9 futures erased, and one man sitting on death row, waiting for a morning he'll never see coming. But in the end, the larger question remains. What's more terrifying? The monster who hides behind a screen, or the despair that makes people reach out to him in the first place. Because until that despair is confronted, until those vulnerabilities are healed, there will always be another trap, another predator, another tragedy waiting in the shadows. This was the story of Takahiro Shiraishi, the Twitter killer. A case that showed the world that even in the safest societies, the deadliest threats can live inside the very platforms we use every single day. And maybe the scariest part is this: he wasn't the first, and he won't be the last.